Tuesday, March 19th edition of the Carolina Weather Video, and we had a very pronounced wedge across the region yesterday and extending into this morning. A lot of low-hanging cloud cover and some fog. That's what it looked like in Greensboro at the 5 o'clock hour this morning. Up that way, temperature 36 degrees, dew point 36, humidity at 100%. A lot of fog out there in various locations too, and our temperature is still showing the well-defined wedge in place. It's 41 in Charlotte, 39 in Raleigh, but you get along the coast, it's much milder in the 50s. Now on the radar, you don't have a lot of actual precipitation left here for much of our area. There's been a few sprinkles in the mountains and the foothills this morning. A lot of snow spreading up through the northeastern parts of the country. The snow's actually been fairly heavy at times in parts of Massachusetts and other parts of the Northeast. And then you get further to the south, you've had a line of some thunderstorms exiting off the coast this morning south of the Outer Banks. Those are heading out to sea, and some trailing thunderstorms down around the Florida Panhandle region this morning as well. And this was a pretty effective severe weather producing system. Look at all the storm reports here over the past 24 hours. And all different modes of severe weather were involved here. In some spots, you had in Mississippi a lot of hail. This was some big-time hail that really began in Arkansas, continued down through Mississippi, and a lot of fairly sizable hail as well. And then through north and central Alabama, you had a lot of wind damage reports and some hail too, but a lot of wind damage there in parts of the Tennessee Valley. And then as those storms moved into this cool, stable air mass that we have in place, the severe weather threat tapered off, but we did indeed have some lightning and thunder in some instances. Now look at the effects of the wedge on these high temperatures yesterday. Only 39 for the high in Greensboro, 46 in Charlotte, but down Interstate 77 in Columbia, it was 63 for a high and almost 70 in Charleston. Now today, we're going to be looking at sunshine building in. It'll be a pretty mild day too. Highs topping 60, fairly breezy conditions too. But we're going to be stepping down our temperatures. High pressure building on in. That's a chilly high pressure that then retreats back toward the plain states. Now tomorrow, a little area of low pressure forms offshore, and that'll spread some clouds in. I can't even rule out a couple sprinkles or snowflakes in a couple spots tomorrow evening or late afternoon, but it doesn't look like a big deal. Most of us probably missing precipitation with that. But that wedge will be scouring out as that cold front moves through today, and so we're going to be winding up with highs topping 60 today, but we'll notice the temperatures on a downward trend, only 50s for highs in many spots tomorrow, and by Thursday, it's only 40s for high temperatures as this colder air settles in. All right, on to the modeling. This is the European upper air chart for today. Trough driving that cold front eastward. Now as we get into later tomorrow, a little piece of energy pivots in, and that's what helps to develop that little weak low pressure offshore, but again very little in the way of precipitation with that. But then as we get deeper into the forecast period, this is overnight Sunday night, and a very intense upper air low on the European moving through Kentucky and Tennessee that moves essentially due east from there and winds up by 168 hours there just offshore of the Virginia coast. Now let's see. That's handled a little bit differently on some of the other modeling here, and I'll kind of show you what that results in terms of precipitation here in just a second. Now today, again, that front driving to the east, and we'll wind up with a lot of afternoon sunshine today. And again, not much in the way of precipitation tomorrow, although I will say the GFS is printing out a little bit of precipitation tomorrow evening. That's the GFS for tomorrow evening, but again, it looks pretty insignificant overall. Now, as we go out to the weekend, this is the European at 102 hours, and it tries to bring a little bit of rain Friday night into South Carolina and southern parts of North Carolina. But the more significant system moves in Sunday and Monday. All right. So this is what the European looks like early Sunday afternoon. This is a Miller B type scenario. One low pressure here, one forming along the coast, and an extremely well-defined cold air damming signature there evident on the modeling. All right. And so that's the surface chart at the same time. This is what the European looks like up at 850 millibars, and that's your freezing line down to a little north of Charlotte, south of Greensboro, and a little south of Raleigh too. All right, you go out to 156 hours, low pressure along the coast, and And again, at the 850 millibar level, there's your freezing line running from roughly Mount Airy to Hickory down to Gastonia. So again, that's sort of an interesting setup. Now, again, comparing what's going on upstairs here, this is the European model at 168 hours, but compare that to the GFS, and it's much more northwest and intense with kind of a primary low up that way. But even in that scenario, here's what the GFS does this weekend. There is 138 hours on the GFS, and it is the same general setups, just further northwest with the parent low over the plain states, but you still have a Miller B scenario, and you're looking at, again, a very well-defined cold air damming signature. The GFS is just a rain event, but the European at face value is some wintry precip and parts of North Carolina. And let me show you the Canadian. The Canadian is pretty interesting. There is 138 hours on the Canadian, looking very much European-like. And at the 800, well, and there's your 850 millibar temperatures. Again, very similar to the freezing line up at 5,000 feet as the European model had indicated. A couple more things to show you with this. Let me show you the European model. Again, this is the operational at 138 hours. Let's look at the ensemble mean and notice, well, that's the Canadian. I'm sorry. Let me find the correct ensemble mean for the European. There you go. Notice it is very similar with that Miller B scenario, indicating a primary low in Kentucky and Tennessee, another one forming off the Georgia coast. Very well-defined cold air damming signature evident there on the ensemble mean too. And finally, this is what the WPC has put on their manual charts. This is valid Sunday morning. And so this is sort of an interesting setup. We'll see how this unfolds. Obviously, it is extremely late in the season, but we're looking at the Arctic Oscillation just near extremely record low levels, or I should say very low, near record levels, extremely low levels there. And so it's the type of scenario that very well may try to produce some wintry precip further south than you might expect this late in the season. And we'll just sort of have to see how this unfolds. Now, if this trends further north and west, we wind up with a very chilly rain in North Carolina, but it's certainly within the realm of possibility that maybe somebody winds up with some wintry precip in there Sunday or Monday. We'll see. All right, that's it for today's edition of the video. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and God bless.